So I'm leaving Best Buy right now. We just made a major purchase for work and was able to save 500 bucks. So stay tuned, I'll tell you what happened today. Hope you're doing well.
So, a tool that I use for work reached its limits. I spent days on the internet trying to resolve it, looking for a firmware update, looking for an accessory, any kind of workaround to avoid replacing it. And it just boiled down to the easiest way through it, and for the long run, would be to replace it with a current model updated version. So, what do we got to do? We got to buy a new one. Now we're researching which tool to replace it with. And we can spend tens of thousands of dollars, we can spend hundreds of dollars, and somewhere in the middle lies the solution. The least expensive way I could figure out how to navigate this problem was $2,700. Yes, less than tens of thousands, but still a lot of money. This wasn't a purchase for fun, this was a purchase for work. We have upgraded tools, we have stuff that does the job, our life is easier, maybe it'll last longer, give us better results down the road, all those things you weigh out. It's just not fun to spend money that way, especially that kind of money. So decide that the only way through it is to buy a new one. What am I talking about? Camera. I had a Sony A7C that just kind of maxed out for what I've been trying to video lately, and looked like my replacement was going to be another Sony just to keep it in the same ecosystem. So I decided on a Sony FX2. I get on the internet, start looking around. Looks like Sony's pricing is pretty locked in, meaning everybody that's a retailer for their brand can't advertise a price anything lower than anybody else. So I find that Sony has an instant $200 rebate upon purchase right now. Okay, now we're looking at about $2,500. So start looking at the retailers locally for inventory. Also looking to see if anybody had a trade-in at a camera store, which sometimes you look out, but it's a newer camera, so I wasn't able to find one sitting somewhere that was traded in with, any kind of luck. Best Buy has open box items. And on their website, you click on an item, and now they have this thing called Marketplace underneath the price. What that is, it's kind of like Amazon, where it shows you other products available that are the same from other retailers, and also if they have an open box. So I click on that, and they got an open box for $2,000. So now we're looking at like $500 less than a new one. So I wanted to look at it in my store before I purchased it. It's not available at my store. I couldn't find it in the area, meaning local stores close to me. So I get on telephone and call my local store. Local store phone does not get answered anymore. Shame on you, Best Buy. You can't talk to anybody in your local store anymore. It sends you to a call center, to some person somewhere else in the world that barely speaks English. At least that was my experience that day. So I'm talking with this gentleman in some other part of the world that can barely understand English, and I can barely understand him, and we're having a very high level of frustration. I get burned out, say my goodbyes, decide I'm going to drive right to the store. Drive to my local Best Buy store, hoping to talk to somebody at least understands what I'm going through and maybe can offer me a different option. So I meet Ava, charming young sales associate for Best Buy. Young lady, like in her early mid 20s, something like that. Very charismatic, personable, customer service driven. It's like, oh, this is awesome. Tell her my situation. So, I'm looking at this item, it's this much, but you got an open box for this much. And if it was something less expensive, I would just click on it and send it home. But for that kind of money, I'd like to see it first and touch it and look at it and see if it's damaged. And so she's understanding of what I'm going through. She gets on the computer, she's looking around, she finds the item, and she tries to look at if there's any way for her to do a store transfer. Impossible. She said it looks like these open box items are now kind of its own entity, meaning it's not like another store where I can send it to my store type thing. She says the only thing I can see is you're going to have to buy it, and then if you don't like it, return it. I'm like, it just doesn't set well for that kind of money. So I said to her, I go, you know what? If you could give me 15% off a new one, which would bring it just about to the same price as the open box, I said, I would just buy a new one. I don't have to worry about this. She's like, you know what? Let me go talk to my manager. Let's see if we can figure this out. Manager comes back. He's like, so what are you trying to do here? Get 15% off? I'm like, yeah. I said, problems with trying to buy an open box. Can't look at it. Can't touch it. The only way I can buy it is just to click on it and hope hope for the best when it shows up. So he gets on the computer, he's digging around, looking at whatever he can see on his side of the monitor, and he gets down to, here's what I can offer you. So the sales manager comes back and he says, okay, here's what I can offer you. Apply for a Best Buy card, whether you get a proof order or not, doesn't matter, and I'll give you $250 off, which will bring it down to $22.50. I'm like, you know what? That's a fair deal. Let's just do it. Be done with it. So I pay for it. They didn't have one in stock. They had it at another nearby store that was close enough. I'm like, okay, send it there. That's fine. So before I leave, I said, you know what? Ava was wonderful, very charming, personable, charismatic, customer service driven. I said, I don't see that in this world anymore. So it's very, very nice to see that. Very inspired by that, and hoping that the customer service stuff will get better in this world. And he says, well, you know what? When you get a survey, make sure you mention her. I said, absolutely. So I go to the other store, pick it up, no problems, and get it home, do the online registration. Found out if you register it within 30 days, you get double the warranty. So now I got a 2-year warranty. And it says it's also eligible for a $50 rebate. And I'm like, wow. So I got it down to $2,200. But, my point behind all this is, without Ava, I wouldn't have saved that $250, with customer service oriented sales associate, willing to help you, do whatever you can, listens to what you're trying to convey, and willing to accommodate and try to make it work for you. It's hard to see that anymore. I had that experience once with Menards, which is a home improvement store locally. And they had some furniture that was a floor model on closeout, buy the floor model thing. And they were showing a little wear on them. And I talked to the manager. He goes, you know what? Buy it right now. I'll give you 15% off extra. I'm like, sure. So point behind all this, you can still get some deals out there. You have to ask for them. They're not just going to give it to you, of course. Do you have any experience with this? Have you gotten a better deal out of, a retail store where you didn't expect to get a deal other than what the advertised price was? If you have, drop it in the comments. If you like this kind of content, give me a like. Give me a subscribe if you really like it. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.